times then potentially copying the superintendent would not be appropriate, but we don't have any other mechanism for that yet, which is why I'm bringing up the policy 204 draft that, thank you for sending out, that does have a process that could potentially remediate this concern here. That's what I'm bringing up.
I guess I'm not following that.
Well, why don't we take it off into the study session?
Yeah. I was
We
just gonna
can,
say.
we can. I just, I'd like to move these along, so
Right.
if there's an issue that we can think about, look at, so that we're prepared to have a more constructive conversation to keep it moving forward.
Right.
So,
Well, and if there is some concern about, I think we need to be concerned about if we're gonna go outside of and going directly to employees, as far as if there is a concern, from a legal standpoint of us giving direction to an employee who's not technically under our employee. Because when I have talked about this before with attorneys, there's been concern of doing that. So I would be for giving Lee some direction and talking to some legal on some of these questions that we're having on these, so that we can prepare for the study session, so we can move this along.
Okay.
I
be-
think,
I
I
would
think
be-
talking to
I'd
one of our
support that.
attorneys, I think, to get some clarification on, specifically us giving work, copying emails, that kind of thing. I think getting, some legal advice on what is applicable to us in legal as it relates to us directing employees.
are you referring to my
The
talking to the
5.6.
MSBA? No, to talking to the MSBA lawyer?
No, I'm talking to our legal counsel. I'm talking about talking to an attorney.
At this point, I'm not allowed to talk to an
Well,
attorney
that's why I'm
except
talking
during
about it right now, to see if we have,
negotiations for the superintendent.
well, if we have board direction, into which I think it would be good to have an outside legal expert on employment law and take a look at what, we have attorneys on retainer, so.
Is that the direction of the board then?
I'm fine with that.
That's a good idea.
Enrique, I don't know. Yeah, he's nodding his head.
He's nodding.
So
Yeah.
specifically, what question, which lines?
Well, I think with, what was it, 5.6, Mary, that
Yes, it was 5.6.
specifically 5.6 as it relates to, as that relates to concerns and questions coming from the community, in our role as board members, is it appropriate for us to be giving, those concerns directly to an employee outside of the superintendent? I guess that would be the main question.
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is there
Right.
another medium that we should be directing them to do it? So we're not conflicting and we're not potentially passing things on. And also, when we do have oversight, that we're handling it correctly. So I agree with Stacy. I think that would be something that we could look into, or we should look into.
Okay. I guess I'm not interpreting this to that degree.
Well, and
so-
I think, if that's a different vein, in my opinion, this is like what 99% of what we get is
It's not,
comments and things
right.
like that get funneled. And so that's what this is related to. I don't think, if we want to go off on a different tangent with the grievance and that kind of thing, I think that's almost another,
Well, that's a whole
policy.
different area. and
Right.
I know that in one of these policies, if it would involve, if the board chair is supposed to be taking care of it and it involves the board chair, then they're
Or the vice
recused
chair.
from it.
Right.
And I would believe if it involved the superintendent, they would be recused from it.
Yep.
I don't know that it's actually written. I'd have to find it. I don't know off the top of my head one way or the other.
well, let's, again, I think Stacy's recommendation was good, and I do think it needs further discussion. And now that we know there's some questions on this particular number and how it maybe even interrelates with other policies or protocols that need to be considered, that it's something we should table, or whether we
Well,
can say
it'll-
table or not, and
Well, it doesn't
discuss
need to
it
be
at a study
tabled. We'll just
session.
move it into the work
Right.
session.
We'll move it
In
into the work
meantime, I can
session,
call
but-
It
it.
already is. It's in the work session.
but I
It'll
mean,
be the next time
this
we
would
look
give
at
her a chance to,
Okay.
have some information for us so that we could have a discussion on it. And is that the only one on this policy, 5.6?
That's the only one, and then the other thing is of course, the open forum and our new format and making it clear, and again, like I said, I'd like to be able to discuss that, to make it, as I said, palatable to people to be able to participate in the open forum, given our new reality here.
Again, for a first reading is 204 school board member violation of policy. Any comments on this one? We haven't gotten very far on it.
Lee, are we going to discuss the draft that I put out there at the study session, or are we going?
It was sent to all the board members. If they would like to refer to it, they're open to do that, sure.
Are we going to use it as a discussion point in the study session, or how do you want to do that? How would they refer to it if it's not in our
I guess I
packet?
wanted to get feedback from them if they wanted to look at it. It's a pretty involved policy, and a lot of the areas of it do not pertain to the school board, to a school board. So that's my opinion. I don't know what everyone else feels about that, if they want to go further with that policy or not. Michael?
Ray, could you just let us know, I couldn't, maybe it's in there hidden, but where did that policy come from? It didn't, because the parts of it didn't sound related to school board?
It's a generic policy template that is used for nonprofit boards, school boards. There are other school boards that actually have that exact language in it, actually. But again, it's a policy template, so just like with the MSBA, when they give us policies, they're templates, they're frameworks that we then modify to fit our circumstances.
It was just substantially longer than the one we have, and so I wasn't sure if it was just school board, or like you said, it looks like it could apply to different types of organizations besides ours, besides schools, so I wasn't sure. Parts of it might be relevant for discussion, but.
Well, I threw everything in there because I wanted to have all the options available.
But I think we've all had access to it, so I would say that if anyone wants to bring up parts of that during this discussion, they could. I mean, I don't think we have to read through that whole policy, like at the table, but we've all gotten it and we're able to read it.
Yeah, well, normally we don't discuss anything that isn't in the packet. That's why I was asking Lee, how would you like to handle that if we start bringing something up that nobody else has in front of them? I wasn't sure what is going to be easy to do, or.
And that's where I'm asking the board, do they want it in the packet to have further discussion at the work session? I've reviewed it. I think that there's other policies or violation of policy that are similar to ours that we could maybe change ours a little bit to combine. I think, as I said, I think the one that you sent is more thorough than what we wanted, and a lot of it doesn't pertain. So that's my thought on it. I don't feel I need to do that, but I wanted to hear what the rest of the board had to say since I sent it out to them, if they want it to be in the packet to discuss and compare or not.
So
Nobody's
we're
sure.
saying we can't discuss it if it's not put in the packet, even though we've all been given it for informational purposes. I mean,
Well, it's just easier to discuss it if it's in the packet side by side with our policy, I guess it would be I think is the point that you're
Yes,
making.
that's usually the way we've done. If it's not in the packet, then.
Do you want it in the
What are we looking-
packet to discuss?
This?
No,
the one Mary
the
sent.
Mary-
Oh, I have it.
Mary
I
sent.
typed, I printed it out.
You want it in the official board packet, is what we're
Yes.
asking.
I like the first one. Sorry, I went to go to ladies' room. I needed a break. I just walked in the middle of it.
You missed a lot.
Apparently I did. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the work put into it. I feel like, I've looked around at a couple other districts around and things like that, and they're fairly similar to what we have. So I don't think we need to go to this detail.
I don't think any other district has a policy 204 that I could find.
Oh, it might not be 204, but it has these
Okay.
steps.
They have violation of policies.
Yeah.
So,
There's a
again,
number of them.
just like when I made comments and sent it to Lee, maybe it would be prudent for us to then prepare, put in the packet, maybe put whatever templates, Stacy, you found, and let's figure out which pieces and parts we want to keep or not keep.
Yeah, and I think we may run into the same issue here, where you're gonna need to have some, if we get to, I mean, I would think I would want this reviewed by legal as well, in my opinion, because I think the spirit of 204, really is, I mean, it's that state statute that's been there since, I don't know, probably longer than Lee's been on the board, where you can remove a board member with a vote.
How old I am.
I know. But it's a law that's on the books. It's like similar to like what we did with the mask policy. It's, you know, it's something that's out there trying to provide transparency. And then this just allows some steps for discussion along the way, because there is nothing in the state statute that says anything about that. It just basically says you can vote for proper cause.
Well, the proper cause in the statute is 90 days being gone
That's for
from the
that
board.
specific thing.
That's-
That's not
yeah.
necessarily.
That actually is in the statute here, and that's,
The 90 days.
Really, I don't see the 90 days
No.
in this statute.
it is. I've read the statute. Matter of fact,
I
I
have it
believe
right
it's
here,
even
and
been brought up.
there's nothing about 90 days here,
There's
so.
nothing on 90 days in
Okay,
that statute.
in order to keep this moving along, we'll put Mary's template
And
and
others.
any other, if we have some from some other school districts,
Oh, okay.
and they
No,
need to
we
get to
can do that with
Martha,
the packet.
and we can compare them and move on from there.
Let's do that.
Because it does appear that the statute is kind of toward the end of the violation issue, and leading up to it, what can we do to avoid that, is the way I interpret
That's
what's going on here.
What's the steps, sir?
So let's move on with that, okay? Is everyone all right with that?
Yep.
We can keep moving?
Solid.
Okay, great. We'll do that at the work session then. 209 Code of Ethics.
This is similar.
And yeah, the
I
same
think
issue.
this has the 1.11 that you're
Yeah.
referring to before.
Right,
Which would be in the same vein as the other one.
Right,
correct. So I think if we have the discussion on the first one, it's going to
Yeah.
have a trickle-down effect.
okay. Then we'll move on. Everyone all right with that? We have no second readings. We do have some to approve, hopefully this evening. These are policies that were, had first readings on August 10th and second readings on August 24th, with presentations before that. Policy 201.1, school board vacancies. Anyone have any comments on that? Well, first I'll take a motion to approve 201.1.
So made.
By Stacy, second
Second.
by Jonathan. Any comments or questions on that one? Okay, seeing none. Mary?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Stacy?
Aye.
Aye. Jonathan?
Aye.
Melissa? There. Melissa? Enrique?
Aye.
Melissa? That motion carries 6-0. We'll move on to policy 215, school board use of electronic mail. Any comments or, do I have a motion to approve school board use of electronic communications?
So moved.
By Michael.
Second.
Second by Mary. Any comments or questions? Okay, Mary?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Aye. Stacy? Aye.
Aye.
Enrique?
Aye.
Melissa? That motion carries 6-0. On to administrative, oh, thank you for getting a few policies done here. Administrative reports, Dr. Stallo.
Nothing additional for me tonight, thank you.
I said superintendent, okay, you're superintendent. Administrative, are there any other ones? I'm sorry.
Good evening again. Yes, I have one quick report. I just want to update the board on where we're at with the audit and where we are with the levy certification. And so we just last Thursday, I believe, actually, we received our first run of the levy certification. There are a lot of errors in that, and so we're working diligently to clean that up. We'll be able to bring something to you at the next work session, which will also have to be a board meeting where you'll need to approve the preliminary levy certification. And we'll be doing some updating of our student enrollment numbers, which will have an effect on our levy certification as well. And the audit is going well. The part of the audit that isn't going very well is that the federal government, the OMB, has not issued some of the guidance yet for, especially for child nutrition services. And they don't anticipate that they will be able to offer that guidance until sometime mid to late October. So the recommendation by our auditors is that we bring forward what we have. They have audited our books based on last year's guidance. And then if there's any need to update it, if there's some new guidance, they will come back out and they will update that and bring back a different report, specifically surrounding child nutrition services back to the board. But we would like to continue, if we could, to bring that in the next work session and then have the board approve a preliminary audit numbers. And then if it's okay, everything is okay, it'll be a final audit then. But that's what that looks like right now. There's a lot of moving parts still at the federal government simply due to COVID, that information isn't coming out as quickly as it has in the past. So it's just a quick update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other administrative reports? They're shaking their heads. We'll begin board reports, and I hate to put Abby on the spot, but student council got to get together at all this summer, or what's going on at the high school?
Yeah, student council was able to meet actually three.
Mike?
Yeah, is it blocked? Can
All
you
right.
should I talk more like towards you?
You're good. You're good.
Student council was able to meet 3 times this summer. We met at Dan Patch Stadium every time so that we were able to be outside, social distant. Most people wore masks. It was, I mean, as pretty much as good as we could get for those summer meetings with working with what we were given. And those meetings looked a lot different this year because in the past we've been able to really start planning for homecoming and get going on that and the ball rolling on our committees, planning all sorts of things. And I mean, obviously this year is a lot different with that. And so those meetings consisted of a lot more brainstorming alternatives to what could be a whole homecoming week, alternatives to potentially doing a different type of dance, potentially doing some sort of parade, including the community in that. So many different ideas and just brainstorming. And it was a lot of fun listening to everyone's ideas because even the new freshmen and the new people who were from other grades who just hadn't been on council before and were elected this year had some really interesting ideas. So as we're moving forward into the school year, we're meeting twice a week. And I think we're kind of progressing in that same manner of continuing to brainstorm. Mr. Ingalls yesterday told me that homecoming would have been a week from today. Homecoming week would have started a week from today. And that just kind of put it all in perspective for me and how crazy all of this has been and how many differences there are. But I think student council is adapting really well. We were able to make a video with Dr. Bizik. I don't know if any of you got to see that, but I thought it went really well. I think the student body found it very helpful and informative because, I mean, there is a lot of confusion, and you guys know so much. Like, sitting here, I'm informed of so much that I had no clue, and even that little, I don't know, like 6-minute video was so helpful to students. And so I think moving forward throughout the year, just trying to continue to do things like that not necessarily are like school spirit related as much, but more just helpful for like mental health purposes or keeping people like less stressed in this stressful situation, because that's a big thing for all students, regardless of if they have pre-existing health or mental conditions or not. It's stressful for everyone. So that was really exciting. We got to welcome back the teachers, just social distancing, clapping, wearing masks. Different than usual, but it was still fun, and I think the teachers really enjoyed that, just with all their hard work they've been putting in. We were able to do a smaller scale new student event for students who weren't freshmen, who were new to Prior Lake. And that went well. There was a smaller turnout for students. I think there was about 10 new students, but they were able to get some questions answered by student council members and get a tour of the new facilities. And I think that all went very well. Yeah, that's kind of all I have.
I'm glad you're making it work.
We're doing the best we can, just like everyone. And I don't know, it was very interesting to sit in this meeting and just, there's a lot of moving parts for sure, but I think it's very cool to see like everyone come together here and how it even, just discussing it, how that works. And I think that's so interesting. That's just a comment, but that's all.
It only gets better.
Thanks, Abby.
Crazy meeting.
Okay, Jonathan, did you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Stacy?
I had an AMSD meeting on Friday. Dr. Salo and I think Julie was there and Jim was there. Listened in on, this is the yearly time of year where they do the I'm going to say his name, Peter Letterman and Bill Morris survey. It's super interesting. It kind of gives a lay of the land of what Minnesota looks like right now, just as far as, you know, as Amnesty and other organizations are trying to set their legislative platform, what's on the voters' minds right now going into the election. And so I know Dr. Salo put a link in on her newsletter to it. So if you have a chance to kind of peruse it, it's like 45 pages or something, but it's really interesting just to see the changing, you know, where people are at kind of. So it's very different than any year I've been on the board. Usually education, as far as a priority of what's on people's minds, is usually in the top 3. Since right there, yeah. And I think it was 7th or 8th. It was pretty far down. So it's just interesting to just kind of see where everybody's at. But anyway, so that was good. And then today we had the legislative group, Enrique, myself, Michael, and Dr. Salo. We just had continued discussions on looking at equity and inclusion training for our board that we've kind of been talking about for the last couple months. So just, you know, just getting some feedback from different groups and stuff like that. So I think October is when we're kind of talking about having something at the study session for a report back to the board.
Okay. Michael?
I'll just add from that meeting today too, that we talked about the need to start doing our own district legislative platform.
Oh, yeah.
And so we kind of want to just alert the board to be thinking about what are we thinking will be the important issues for us, so that we can kind of be drafting that as part of our role in our committee. And we'd like to do it a little earlier than we usually do. We sort of sometimes wait till other organizations, AMSD or C, put out their platforms, and it'd be nice if we could kind of, you know, be ahead of that and provide some feedback, you know, back to them. So if you would all be willing to kind of share with us too, keep top of mind what you would like to see on, you think we should be considering for that legislative platform, that would be helpful. And then community ed, our group has not been able to meet, but they have been really good about updating the advisory committee on the hard work they're doing there and navigating these times and the programming and the efforts they're putting out. So while it's just email updates, I just want to mention they've been hard at work and keeping us well informed as a committee.
Mary?
Well, we had the FLIRT meeting this past week, and I'm glad to see things seem to work out with the last minute trying to get everything from cafeteria to construction done. And our curriculum meeting has not met yet, so, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gets delayed just because of what's on everybody's plate right now. So looking forward to getting those meetings. And I know that we had discussed changing a little bit about the demographics of the curriculum meeting, as well as the makeup and the purpose of it. So looking forward to seeing how that goes this year.
Yeah, I was at the FLIRT meeting as well, and there's a lot of discussion about the Prior Lake High School kitchen, and it's there today, and it's amazing. They're doing a lot of stuff, and the kitchen looked awesome. So that's a really good thing, a big relief. Dr. Bezick was quite relieved. He was worried about the lunches, how that was going to go. Losing sleep over it, it sounded like. And then we referred to the Visit in the Schools, and I really encourage you to check them out. I mean, it's amazing, and it's awesome. And then last week, had the opportunity to listen to some teachers make remarks and tell their stories at a national and state level to some of our constituents. It was awesome for us to have that opportunity to actually let them know what our needs are. It was a good thing to have happen. It isn't often that we can tell our stories and things at those levels, so that was helpful. With that, Enrique, did you have anything to add? Sorry.
That's all right. No, I think Stacy and Michael did a great job of summarizing our public engagement and legislative action committee. The only other thing I would talk about is Special Education Advisory Committee. So this committee has yet to meet this calendar year. As the school year unfolds before us with the distance learning and hybrid learning, I'm very eager to get this committee back up and running so that we can collect that feedback and learn a little bit more about the experiences that our special education students and parents. I would like to be mindful of what that experience is for each one of them and fold it into our ongoing discussions with relation to equity and inclusion.
Okay. And Melissa, are you there? I guess you're having some.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to give my update on the Southwest Metro Intermediate District. We're getting very close. We're looking at a final proposal and a discussion for the new building. We have a meeting tomorrow and we'll be discussing the inspection of the building and the financing. So we'll be bringing that forward to the board probably at the next board meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. Future events, we have a school board study session on September 28th at 6 p.m. here in the district office. I believe we'll still be in this format up here unless there's a change, but I think we'll probably just stay the same way. Feels more formal, but it's easier with spacing. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So made.
By Mary, second by Stacy. All those in
Second.
favor? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Oh, shoot, I was supposed to do roll call.